From the shop, folks. It's pouring down outside, so let's do another indoor project. And today, I'm gonna work on my grandfather's old railroad watch. My uncle gave it to him, and as far as I remember, he had this on his wrist my whole life. I got it when he passed away. Cleaned up the crystal and the frame, the case, a little bit, just as, lightly, trying to make it look nice. And wanted to put a different band on it. I cleaned up the band that he uses, but this type of band just grabs my hair and hurts. So I picked up on Etsy this blue band that I thought, I'm not really a one to wear gold too much, but since it is already a gold watch, a gold hardware on this blue band. But the blue thread, I think it would add a little more pop if it were white to match the bezel, or whatever, if that's called the bezel, the dial, I guess. Yeah, the dial. So anyway, I'm going to pull out the blue thread, add the white thread, and see what we have. Yeah, should be fun. Let's get going with it. Like I said, nothing fancy. Overall, this should be a really simple project. Pop out the blue threads and lace in the new white ones. We'll be using a saddle stitch, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot with this. Just like anything, any project, it will pose. And real quick here, I'll take a break. That's the watch up close, the dial, and the railroad watch that my uncle gave my grandfather. It's not an automatic, but my uncle was at the railroad from the time he was 18 until he retired. My grandfather was a machinist. We come from a family that, we do things ourselves, learn it, figure it out, sometimes because we want to, sometimes because we have to, but always kind of enjoyed doing projects and little things like this, big ones. But yeah, getting back to it, you just popping these threads out. I used some of these little picks to see what was the best. In the end, the knife cutting the top layer, because this is a loops or whatever it's called, like it's got one thread on the bottom, one thread on the top, and the sewing machine loops them together in the middle. So we pop the top threads, and then the bottom one here just pulls right out. So you get those out, and then the big problem here with this little project was I wanted the white lacing to stand out. So I wanted thick lacing, and not just thin, which I knew would kind of just disappear in the blue. So that's what posed the problem here. But overall, a simple project. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get out there and figure out what projects you want to do, because stuff's not too difficult once you kind of, and I think I've said this before, once you're willing to just take that first step and try, it becomes endless. Like you can do anything at that point. So get out there, make something, enjoy, and yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, we got the thread out. See, showed you that. Did this side, I did the tan underside, so maybe it'd be easier to see as I pick the thread out. But I also poked in the leather a little bit, so watch out for doing that. You don't want to poke in the leather and mess up your finish. So I guess it's a good thing it's on the underside. So now the normal needles that I use for threading, lacing leather are a little bit thick, so I'm gonna go find some smaller sewing needles, some thread needles, that I can start getting going with this. So yeah, be back in a minute. I wanted to take a second here and just point out how I was taught to thread the needle for lacing. Basically, we're going to take the thread, put it through the needle, and we're going to take an 1.5 inches, 2 inches or so. We're going to poke the needle back through the strands of the lacing, and then pull that back to kind of lock it in place. And you'll see here, so we've got the thread going through the hole in the needle, and we take the needle, like I said, back through the strands, just like that, and then pull that down over the needle and over the thread, and it kind of locks it on there so that the thread doesn't pull itself out of the needle as you go about your lacing. Here is where the simple little 30-minute project takes a turn. The thread is too thick, which I kind of figured it would be, but I was hoping for the best. And now it's time to pivot and work through the problem, solve the problem. It's not very important, obviously, but that's where we're left. All right, I'm gonna have to pause here because I think this is where a lot of times people will just keep on moving and kind of cut out the problems and annoyances. So in just trying to simply thread the needles with this thicker leather lacing, I went through 3 needles. Got kind of annoying. I had one that I was able to work, and then so I went to a slightly larger needle, got it working. Now, the holes in the actual, and I thought maybe this was going to be the case. I was hoping I'd be able to work it out. But the holes in the actual watch strap that are already there are too small for this thick of lacing plus the needles. So I'm going to have to go find some other white thread. I liked the size of this because I thought it was going to, fill that void pretty well and stand out. So we'll see how some thinner thread works as I go down the road. But you could try to record that, and it's basically me getting annoyed trying to thread a needle and then trying to stitch the watch without really just destroying it. So you see I didn't do but one and discovered, okay, we're too big, I'm going to have to adjust. So that's where we sit. Basically, I had to walk away. And so whenever you get like that, it's probably best, rather than, I don't know, throw in something or whatever your vice is for annoyances, it's probably best just to set it down and walk away. Come back with a fresh head, figure the problem out, and work it from there. So I don't have anything but bobbin for a sewing machine, so that's even thinner than normal sewing thread. So I have to get a hold of some white thread because I still want to do this. And I have plenty of needles that should work with just standard size thread. So take a second, calm down, move away, readjust, and then I'll finish it another day. So yeah, anyway. Okay, so we're back at it. I tried a few different things and I found something that worked. So I think where we left it off, this a few days later, calmed down, thought about it. This little 30-minute project has turned into a few days project now, but this waxed thread that I use for stitching leather was too thick really for this application, for this watch strap and everything, with the holes that are pre-punched. But I wanted it to be thick enough thread that it was visible and it made kind of an impact by putting it on there. And I think there's some standard sewing thread that is, say, this thickness is just too thin. It wouldn't stand out as much as I'd want it to. So I wound up, this is made up of 3 strands of thread. And then so I pulled one out basically. I was able to get that threaded through the needle, a small enough needle that I can put it through the band on the hole without really stretching out and stressing the leather band too much. Tried it a couple times and it does seem to work. So that being said, let's go ahead and stitch this thing. Also, I don't use a stitching pony ever. Usually just sit in front of TV and lace the leather, whatever. But I made this makeshift one up just using a wooden clamp, as you see. Glued some leather to it so I wouldn't mar the watch band, and then clamped that to a clamp, clamped that clamp to the table. But it seems to work pretty well, so yeah. Let's go ahead and stitch it. The holes are small. Just make sure I'm in it. Push through one side, not all the way out. And we're gonna do a lock stitch. So in the other side, and that came in on the right side, so make sure that side's the opposing side is wrapped. Pull it out, and I'm holding the threads so that I don't pull them out of the needle, because it was a little difficult to get them threaded in the needle. So boom, there's that. And keep coming in from the same side, so I'm starting at the front, and that way the stitch remains even all the way around the watch band. So I'm gonna shut up and start lacing, stitching, lacing, whatever it's called. See, I don't know if you can see on that one. I'll try to zoom in, but it went through the thread in between. I don't want that. That's gonna cause a knot in it. So now we're in front of it and around it, going through the loop, and we'll be able to lock that in. Somewhat finicky, but not too bad when you get the hang of it. Again, I'm not used to using a stitching pony, but as small as this watch band is, I can't really put it in between my knees. So I'm liking it. I think that's gonna turn out pretty well. All right, and there it is. Just adding a little white stitching to that blue blue watch band. Yeah, a little bit of trial and error, more errors than anything, dealing with the thread and the small needles and punching the holes. It's not perfect. I've definitely had better stitching jobs that I've done, but for this, I think it'll work. Yeah. It adds that little bit of accent that I was looking for that just makes it pop a little bit more than the blue thread. Matches the white from the dial. So I think that's pretty cool. Bringing back my grandfather's old watch. I like it. Let me know what you think in the comments below if you're interested. Also, next project is we're going to fix a bunch of batteries. I've got these DeWalt batteries, the big, whatever, 8 milliamp things, 20 volt, that are like $200, $340, depending on which one you have. And these old Milwaukees that they all have very similar batteries inside. So yeah, so check back if you're interested. We're going to be fixing or attempting to fix some batteries next. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I don't know, maybe learn something. That's what it's all about: getting out and figuring stuff out, learning a new process, learning how to work on things yourself, no matter what it is, whether it's altering a watch or fixing some batteries or building a camper. Doesn't matter. Get out there and work on stuff. So from the shop, thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next project.